When you entered the National Museum of the American Indian today, you probably passed by the haunting and evocative exhibit of red dresses blowing in the wind and the rain today. It was a creation of our next speaker, Jaime Black, Métis, a Winnipeg, Canada-based multidisciplinary artist. Her REDress Project installed along the museum's Riverwalk, and if you haven't seen it, you really should after this presentation. It's going to be here through the end of March, and it's focused on the issue of missing or murdered Indigenous women. The 35 dresses serve as stand-ins for the potentially thousands of Native women who go missing or who are murdered each year. Jaime's talk is titled, Dancing Myself Home. Please welcome Jaime. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yes, we're wrecking the moment here. Hi, everybody. I've been so emotional over the last few days, and I'm really feeling it right now. So let me just take a breath. It's such an honor to be here on this land and to be here with the women who are speaking here today. Our stories are so similar, and it's really a story about taking back land sovereignty over our bodies and over the land. And creating those connections. And I just love what the last speaker was saying about art being a way forward. I've been doing the REDress Project for 10 years now. I started the project in Winnipeg, Canada. And I started out the project and approached a university there, and the Women in Gender Studies, actually, and they really wanted to support putting up the red dresses. So they made a call out to the university for donations of red dresses, and we got over 100 donations in about 3 or 4 weeks. Since that time, hundreds of donations have come to me of red dresses, and that really shows me that this work is really showing that people all across the world are willing to stand by us as Indigenous women and support us in moving forward and ending violence against Indigenous women and girls. I also wanted to, oh my goodness, can I run backstage? I have a poem I want to read. I also wanted to start this presentation. I just remembered I was on Facebook last night, and there's a young Indigenous poet. I don't know if you guys know Santi Smith. She's a dancer, Mohawk dancer from Canada, and she runs her own dance company, Indigenous dance company in Toronto. And her daughter, Samaya, wrote this unbelievable poem that I read while I was just on Facebook last night, and it's so powerful. So I asked her if I could share it today, and so I'm going to share that with you. It's called In Her Hands. In her hands, all her strength had already been woven. From the blood that was shed into the ground, she stepped, by the whispers of forgotten wisdom through the wind. They looked to ban her power, because her ancestral ferocity dared to question the invisible cage that trapped her in her own beauty, the same cage that trapped her mother, her mother's mother, her mother's mother's mother. They looked to ban her power because she stood tall with the greatest of trees. She wept as they were killed, raped to feed a hungry army of ignorance. They looked to ban her power because she laughed when they tried to break her. She laughed because she knew she could not be broken, because she is of Mother Earth and she is of her. But you see, this is a dangerous realization for some, and those some come with their guns, their dogs, and their violence, and she continues to laugh because it is they that are stuck in this material-bound prison. They have forgotten their sacred wisdom, that we are meager mortals, just physical portals of star people, dreaming our lives, waiting to be returned home. So that's so powerful. I just wanted to share that because I feel like through this work I'm given a platform a lot of the time, and I'm really I'm seeing the voices of the youth and the young Indigenous youth are extremely powerful right now, and I have so much faith in their creativity and their expression to really move things forward and change the way that things have been going with colonization for all these years. So through doing the REDress Project, I've been doing the work for, as I said, 10 years now. And this work is really about marking the absence of Indigenous women and girls. But as we said, we are still present. We are still standing here, and we are in our power. And this power, settlers came to Turtle Island, and they wanted to take that power away from our communities. And the people they turned to, who had the most power in our Indigenous communities, were women and two-spirited people. And they took that power away and have silenced us because we hold the teachings and the power to change the way colonialism has overtaken the land. And so if we exercise that power, we're really a direct threat to the way the world is working and is organized today. So this is an installation. I've traveled this work all across Canada. So it has been in small towns, in communities, in big cities. I've done installations in Toronto and other big cities in Canada. And it really creates a space where families can come and tell their stories. It creates a space where onlookers or just passerby can come and ask why those dresses are there and engage in a conversation, engage in education around why this is happening, and really change the narrative. And I think this, and so as I did this work, it's very painful work to be looking at, the victimization of Indigenous women all the time. And I understand that I work with the spirits of the women, and I really wanted to embody the red dress. And so I see people doing that en masse across the country and across the world now to represent Indigenous women, and that it's not only an empty red dress, it's we are present and we are here and we are wearing these dresses and our power is still real and we are going to reclaim it. So I started doing work on the land and reconnecting to land in order to heal myself and push my work forward in being, present in the work and present on the land instead of being absent. And so that's how the work has evolved since I started doing it 10 years ago. Why did that go back there? Oh, I did a wrong thing. Sorry guys, I've been talking to media and everything for so, so I just wanted to show these works as well. I think a lot of people think that colonization is over, and I don't know if, I don't think people understand on a public scale that colonization is still ongoing. It's still written into law. It's still, present in, child and family services. I know in Manitoba in Canada, there's over 90% of the kids in care are Indigenous children that are going to non-Indigenous foster families. And, a lot of these issues are really ongoing. Land is still being taken away, to build pipelines and to make industrial, projects. And Indigenous women are at the forefront of standing up against these movements. We are going to protect our land and ourselves. This is a grassroots organizer and elder from Ontario, Judy De Silva, who I've worked with. She's a really powerful woman, and in her home community, there's been mercury poisoning because of industrial activity on her land, and she has actually she suffers from a physical condition because of this, but she leads the people and leads her community and has traveled all across the world speaking out about what has happened to her land and protecting the land and water. As well, I don't know if you guys have heard about down here in the States, but Isaac Murdoch and Christy Belcourt are my buddies. I actually went down to their camp a few years ago before they started their land-based camp. I don't know if you guys all know about it, but it sounds like you maybe do. But I'm really interested in creating these land-based movements, and right now I'm working with some elders in my home community and in Winnipeg to really get the youth and the people out onto the land again, and to create art and use art-based practice to have our voices heard at that camp, and to bring that into the public eye to change the narrative around Indigenous women. But yeah, so they're definitely, the two of them and being part of their camp really reignited that spark in me of like really wanting to get back to the land and really reclaiming our power in that place, and really working together to take back that space. Yeah, okay, so this image here, I started doing photography work as well. So I feel like this image is really powerful because it's a transitional image, and it was about 6 or 7 years into doing the red dresses and putting up the red dresses, and I thought about, I started to feel like I was doing a disservice by representing Indigenous women and girls as victims all of the time, and as being, as the dresses being empty. I think it's very important that we have these honest conversations about what's happening and the violence women are facing, but we also need to, balance that out with our power and where we're going and ways towards healing and reclaiming our sovereignty. So this image is, instead of there being an empty dress, it is embodied. And I think of art and dance as also a decolonizing the body practice. So I'm thinking of this as just it's really reconnecting to the land, reconnecting to the body, and really kind of embodying that sovereignty. And that's what this image really means to me. And it pushed me forward to doing more land-based work, which I'm really hoping to share with Indigenous women and youth going forward as a healing practice. So this is kind of not very chronological, but so this is one of the performances that I witnessed in 2009 before I started doing the REDress Project that inspired the project. And this performance was in Bogota, Colombia. I was at a performance art conference, and it was performance artists who were engaging with political issues, all from North and South America. And this group of women, and it wasn't just the women in the red dresses, this performance was in the public square in Bogota, Colombia. And I think that was one of the most powerful things about it, is that it was in the public square. Everybody from around was witnessing what was happening here. And what was happening is there were over 300 women who were part of this performance. And it was, mothers, grandmothers, daughters, there were children involved. And they all gathered in the public square because all of their families had endured violence, or people from their families had disappeared. And it was so powerful to witness this, these women really in real time, in real public space, having their voices heard. So some of the things that they did were, they would just, they would just call out the name of the person that was missing for their family. It's a very simple thing to do. And I mean, we can fight in all these colonial systems, till we're blue in the face, but the reality is through art and through creativity, we can have our voices heard here and now. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And after witnessing this work, I really wanted to take back that energy of these women and that power, and, and use my creativity to kind of engage the public and the women in having their voices heard as well here on things that were happening on the ground for us here in Canada. So one of the things this group actually did, you're looking at here, is them in their red dresses. And a group of about 40 women in red dresses appeared at a certain point during this performance. and everyone around was playing the drum. And they did a choreographed dance to the drum in their red dresses. And then at the end of the dance, they broke. And so they were just running as though they were looking for someone. They were running terrified. And then they came together at the statue in the middle of the public square. And as you can see here, the women helped one of them get to the top of the statue in the middle of the square. And you could see this from all around, like from every street around, from miles around. And that woman stood at the top of that statue in her red dress, and she yelled out, "Where are they?" And I just have chills every time. I've told that story like for 10 years, you know, and it still gives me chills. And so I really wanted to, you know, create a space where our women here in Canada and the United States were able to have their voices heard in this way. So one of the things that happened with the REDress Project over time is that I did open it up to the public a couple of years ago. So what I did is I invited the public to put up a red dress to honor women and families. I invited communities to have their own installation, create their own installations of red dresses to further and have their voices heard in their own communities and spaces. Because I'm only one person, so I can only do so much. So it's been really amazing because since I invited people to show their own creative expression and share that, inspired by the REDress Project, is that it's really grown and really putting forward people's voices in a way that I never thought was possible. One of the things I saw online, and I can't even keep track of all the different ways people are engaging with this work, but one of the things I saw online was that there was a proposed pipeline project, and people from the community there actually put red dresses in the way of the working trucks getting through, like to block the road. So that was so powerful to see that, and which actually brings me to what my performance today with the women and rather the dresses, but it's really a call to action. Because I think that we're in a war. We've been in a war since settlers came to Turtle Island. We're at war with each other, and there's a real power in this work to to put forward what we need to say. I marked those dresses today with a clay handprint, and I got a teaching from a Maori warrior from New Zealand. And he said that his name is Bees. I can't remember his last name. I feel like I should credit him. But he told me this story that the warriors, before they went to battle, you would put a handprint of the clay from the land that they were from over their heart. So this was a form of protection, but it was also a way to mark when there were fallen warriors where they came from and their home, and bring them home. And so that was... when I worked with those dresses today, that's what I was doing. I was calling us to battle, but also bringing us home and having us reconnect to what our home and where our power is in that place. And I think I'll end that there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime.